We had three guys named Kenny, Joe, and Larry who sang very well together, and we called them the Kenjolaires. And then there was a couple other bands. We had a song called Guantanamera, was pretty good. That was our record for a while. You know, there were different sort of chart records we made with different people. We picked up a record out of Canada called, well, the name of the group was the Canadian Sweethearts. Lucille Starr was the girl, and she had just the most incredible voice. And there was a song called, well, in French it's Quand le soleil dit bonjour aux montagnes, which is when the sun says good day to the mountains, you know. And in France, in Canada, it was huge, you know, just a huge hit. And we tried, you know, we sold a few records in America on it, and we put out their album, you know, so to speak, and worked that pretty good. And I thought this was going to get me a big hit in France, and of course they didn't like the Canadian French, you know. They just looked down their nose at it, you know. It's a different language, really, in a sense, you know, spoken differently in different ways in the two countries. But there, you know, we tried different things, you know, as I say, and tried to spread our business and promote our business, you know, and at the same time, you know, at the time we as an artist we had signed Waylon Jennings, you know. He was kind of a friend of mine named Don Bowman tipped me off to this great guy in Phoenix, and we invited him in, and he just knocked Herbie and I off our feet. He was absolutely brilliant. And we started making records with Waylon and making some headway. You know, I would say getting interest on radio stations, and I would say he would sing mostly folk songs or songs he wrote himself. Four Strong Winds, you remember that? Limelighter's song or something like that. And I remember whistling and doing hand claps on that record, you know. And Waylon was just the greatest guy in the world. And then one day he came into us and said, "Boys, you've been great to me." He says, "But I got the call every country boy dreams of, you know, got the call from RCA Nashville, you know. And now you guys want to keep me, I'm with you, you know, but I just want to let you know if you're tired of me, you know, I can go somewhere. You don't have to worry about me, you know." And, you know, Herbie didn't want to let him go. Herbie said, "This guy's going to be a star. How can we just let him walk out?" You know, and finally we talked it over and thought, well, you know, we're promoting Tijuana Brass. Let's focus on this thing and make sure we get the most we can out of this vision we have, you know. And so I went to Phoenix. I cut about 6 more tracks with Waylon, and we had an album that we put out called Just to Satisfy You, which became a pretty big song for Waylon and his lifelong, you know, library. And we let him go. So we had different experiences with different people. Chris Montez, we recorded. Herbie made a record that was a pretty good hit. The More I See You, chart record, enough to make an album with Chris. It sold a few records. I mean, all these things had something to do with keeping us going, keeping us charging ahead. And by the time we made our 3rd album with Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, an album called South of the Border, there was a real market for this record. And there were very few, at that time, independent companies selling albums. They were singles companies. And very, you know, I can maybe one hand the companies that were situated like us, making single records mostly, that were also selling albums. And maybe the Cap Records was maybe one of them. Cadence Records, you know, Archie Blier's company had Andy Williams. He had the Everly Brothers. I mean, somebody, you know, these were the cream of the crop. Atlantic obviously was selling albums, but companies weren't selling albums. And here we had, south of the border, about 100,000 records we sold, within the first couple of months of the release of the record. Somebody by this time had picked a song of Herbie's to be a commercial called the Tea-Berry Shuffle, which is our song was the Mexican Shuffle. So there was all kinds of promotion going this way. We were heading towards something.